Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening. I really respect the fact that we know that we're in harm's way with this COVID-19, but unfortunately there's a more pressing issue that we must address as neighbors, as United States citizens, and as human beings for the human race. My name is Regina Brent. I'm president and founder of Unity Partnership. I am a member of DuPage AME Church, and I am a child of God. Many of my ancestors came over to this country by force. My ancestors paid a price so that I could be standing here today before you as an African American female, born and raised on the south side of Chicago, raised to be proud of my culture and my country and my race. So the good Lord has put it on my heart to take a stand today. And I am standing on your shoulders. I am standing on my pastor's shoulders. I am standing on Olivia's shoulders. I am standing on white abolitionists who created a way for us to be free today while we're standing under this liberty bell. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming. And now I'm going to get with the program here, and I'm going to turn it over to our pastor, Pastor James F. Miller from DuPage AME Church located in Lisle. And I thank you for coming again.
I'm modeling. Good afternoon, I'm Reverend Miller from DuPage AME Church, 4300 Yackley in Lisle, Illinois. I pay taxes in Naperville, and over the last 20 years, I've paid them over $250,000 of real estate taxes, so give me 2 minutes for it.
You can have 5. All right now.
I'd like you to do 2 things for me, because I'm going to say a prayer and get out of the way. 2 things that'll do more for you, make a greater impact than anything that can be said. If you can find the full video of the arrest of Mr. Floyd, watch it, because you're only seeing clips. But I'll give you something to compare it to. Watch the takeoff of the SpaceX. We were talking about 8 minutes and 43 seconds on a man's neck. The takeoff of the SpaceX takes 8 minutes and 44 seconds and 2 rockets to achieve orbit. So you watch that and see when they said takeoff, how long it took. It took them 4.5 minutes for the first booster. 4 minutes. And then it took them another 2.5. And you're sitting there watching that saying, now watch that tape. I didn't see the whole thing till today. It was horrific. But I think watching that tape will make the point. If watching that tape does not make the point, no one can make the point.
That's right.
Let's look to the Lord in prayer. Eternal God, just a few of your children prayed.
Yes.
Everybody knows everything except for when the pandemic's going to end. Everybody knows everything about except for how to control an angry crowd. Everybody knows everything except for what we need to know.
Yes.
And everybody says, let me try it. And they mess up worse than the other man or woman. God, everybody's strategizing and everybody's planning and everybody's opinionating. But there's a few people praying down here because when I was a little boy, I stood in the classroom and put my hand over the heart and said, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is my prayer. Amen.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Miller. Our next speaker is the Honorable Congressman Bill Foster from the 11th District of Illinois. Will you please give him a warm welcome of applause?
Yeah, so this is covered with Lysol, and I'm not going to inject it. You know, we had a space launch today, as was mentioned, and my memories as a child of space launches were always mixed together with the civil rights movement. What we launched today, 2 men going into orbit on one rocket, it was called the Gemini Titan program when I was a child. I used to watch those. And that flew first in 1965, the summer of the Watts riots. The riots in Watts were triggered by police maltreatment of a pregnant woman. And that triggered the fires of Watts that burned for days. And we would go look on television and they would be going back and forth, the coverage of the cities burning and the triumphs of the space age. And there was a statement today or yesterday by the guy who's running, Jim Bridenstine, the guy who's running NASA right now, talking about how great it is that NASA can do great things even when horrible things are going on elsewhere. But my reaction was the opposite, that yeah, we can do great scientific things, but if we don't fix the things that are wrong with our country, it's nothing to celebrate. And so after the riots, I guess in Watts, Los Angeles was better for about a generation until Rodney King in 1992, which I think was the first time, at least that I remember, where things were caught on camera. And that the whole world knew the truth was different than what was reported by the police. And that matters. That's one of the reasons why we know what we know about what happened to Sandra Bland, was because we now have cameras there. And that's, of course, the most important single set of evidence that we have in the tragedy that we're, I guess, commemorating, not celebrating, whatever it is we're doing here. It's important. And I'm not here to say that things haven't gotten better in the last 55 years, but they only get better when people stand up and make their voices heard. They get better at the ballot box.
That's right.
And they have.
That's right.
They have. Look who's representing Naperville today. You know, both from the city council level to the federal level. You know, it matters. And so I just want to thank you for being here. It's not an easy time to gather. I'm proud of the way you're staying, you know, an arm's length apart. And it's the only way that things get better. And I want to thank you all.
All right, our next speaker, and what we're asking people to do is to come up and denounce the racist tactics that have happened out here in DuPage County. We're asking you to reject the police brutality that happened to Mr. Floyd, Eric Gardner, and any other situation that has happened all across the nation. Because what happens to them happens to us. Our boys, our men, our black women are afraid to walk the street today because they don't know what may happen. So please, we're asking you to come up and denounce any racism or any police brutality or any school racism that's going on with African American children in the schools in DuPage County. Our next speaker will come up in place of Mayor Steve Cherico. He couldn't be here today. He's going to be a grandfather, I understand, and we have Benny White here to speak in his place.
All right.
Well, clearly I am not Steve Cherico, but he did ask me to say a few words on his behalf. And Regina is correct. They just were blessed with a new grandchild today. So I'm going to read those remarks as he has them written here. I'm sorry I can't be with you all in person today, but with all the sorrow that is surrounding us, some happiness has shown upon my family. Our daughter gave birth to a baby girl, our granddaughter, and that all happened this morning. Julie and I would be, go ahead and give him a hand. Julie and I would be with you today, but we are spending this special time with our family outside of the Chicago hospital with signs welcoming our newest family member to the world and supporting our daughter. Clearly they can't be in the hospital because of the COVID-19. So I asked Councilman White to share my thoughts with you. What happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis is unconscionable. What happened to Christian Cooper in Central Park is unconscionable. What's happened here in recent months in Naperville is unconscionable. I want to discuss these events and have real, open, and honest discussions about race and racism. We can't pretend these events didn't happen, and it's our responsibility to seek change here at home and across the country. I'm proud of our city's diversity. We all belong in Naperville, and we all deserve a safe, welcoming, and inclusive community. I mourn for George Floyd and his family, and I join the many voices here and across our country calling for lasting change. Thank you very much.
Where's the red?
This is a new normal, isn't it? All right, the next speaker will be Mr. Markel Oliver, our from Unity Partnership, our youth director. Markel Oliver.
The broken will be beautiful. As I stand here today, I can promise that the broken will be beautiful. I was a little apprehensive to come here and speak today on behalf of the youth. I really, truly, honestly, in my whole heart did not want to do this. It boggles my mind as I'm scrolling through my phone on social media, as I'm watching all the blues that is out on the news, that we let this continue. God forbid that we let another moment, another minute to pass by in a toxic environment that has allowed us to systematically ignore the lives that we have been losing decade after decade, time after time, case after case. I'm here today to say I am shaking the cages of people that are not stepping up to take responsibility, to look out for our children, to look out for people that look like me, not just here, all around the world. I'm very grateful for people that have come here before me, that has put in the work, that's put in the time, that's put in the effort and the resources that allows me the liberty to speak to you all as freely as I care to today. I thank you. But I do have problems with people that look like me, that are in a position of power to change things and sit back and hide behind silence, that allows bigotry, that allows racism, that allows sexism, that allows ageism, all of the isms to still run rampant today. I'm here, I'm saying our soul is no longer for sale. My soul, no longer for sale. We're not here at the table to beg, to cry. We're here to demand there be a change. We demand that there are opportunities for us to not just coexist, but to be respected. through the eyes of the law, through the eyes of education, through the eyes of our neighbors. You know, Naperville was crowned one of the greatest places to live not too long ago, and I was confused because I wasn't in that room to have that conversation as a young black man. At 24 years old, I should be jumping off the diving boards into my wildest dreams, into my craziest imaginations. But I have to put those dreams on hold right now because there's a fight that needs to be had. Right? There's a fight that needs to be had, and I can no longer just sit back and watch it continue to happen over and over again. So I take the responsibility to get my peers, the youth, the ones that are coming up behind me, to be engaged, not just in the elections every 4 years, but locally, to make sure that we understand who's representing us, who's representing our vision. Regina, I thank you for taking me under your wings not too long ago when Sandra Bland lost her life. And I've taken the responsibility, as I will continue to take the responsibility, to let my voice be heard, to let my visions be seen, and to shout and scream and proud to be as black as I am today, and I stand. I thank you for taking me under your wing. This can't continue. This cannot continue. And if you're comfortable, that's the problem. If you're comfortable, you will not be comfortable anymore. Again, I'm here to shake the cages of those who are comfortable. Thank you so much, Regina, for this opportunity. I'm still in your phone?
Yes.
This is mine right here.
Thanks me for the opportunity and then try to steal my phone. Boy, these millenniums. I want to make an announcement about the law enforcement of DuPage County. In the absence of Chief Marshal, Chief Dave Anderson, former Chief of Lyle, Chief Ron Wilkie, Chief Greg Thomas, Chief Zeman. They would be here today if it wasn't for the policy and a procedure that they have to follow when rallies take place. I don't agree with it because it dehumanized them when they really want to be here with us today. They want to stand with us today. They want to hear our cry. But because of a policy, they cannot be involved. But there is one who is here. And he didn't pay attention to the policy. He just came out. He risked his family to bring them out. And he is Chief Brian Cunningham from Woodridge, Illinois. Please give him a hand. Raise your hand, Chief. Thank you for coming out and representing all the rest. And I'm sure they appreciate you being out here. All right, we're going to speed through the schedule because I don't want people in harm's way too long. We also have here Naperville City Councilman Kevin Kong. Would you come up, Kevin, and say a few words, please?
Thank you, Regina, and thank you everybody for coming today. I came across a proverb that really struck me as I was heading over today. It goes as follows. When two brothers are busy fighting, an evil man can easily attack and rob their poor mother. Mankind should always stay united, standing shoulder to shoulder, so evil can never cheat nor divide them. And make no mistake, evil is exactly what we saw in Minneapolis through that horrific action, that horrific murder that we saw the police officer commit. And we've seen evil here locally, as horrible as that is, through the recent graffiti found over at Kentucky Park. We cannot let this evil stand. We need to continue to stand together as a community, continue to communicate, continue to stand together as one Naperville, safe for all. Our city council established recently a resolution echoing that we denounce racism and some of the horrific police actions we've seen nationally. That's all I have. Again, I just urge everybody, let's stand together and keep Naperville united for all. Thank you. All
right, our next speaker is County Board, Liz Chaplin. Are you here? Yeah, here she is. All right, come on up.
Thank you all so much for coming this afternoon. It's such an important event that we're all here. I'm here to talk to white people like me. It's so important that we start talking about systemic racism. What is happening in our community, at the local level, what's happening throughout our state, and what's happening at the federal level. I have been advocating for the chairman of the DuPage County Board to start having workshops with speakers like Dr. Adrian Coleman that can help the board understand what our Black community, our Latino community, our minority community is facing. So as we think about this, it's important that we all stick together, we all support everyone, and we call out bad behavior, even on police officials. And today, the police chief of Tennessee said to his department, if you are not uncomfortable, if you have no issue with what happened to George Floyd, turn in your badge. And that should be the message. Turn in your badge if that does not trouble you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you.
Our next speaker is our next speaker is the County Board member Greg Hart.
Thank you very much, Regina. What we have here today, as we look out at this crowd, is a great show of community. And it'll take a community to stand up against racism. And it'll take a community to demand no more silence from any elected official who refuses to speak out on this matter. I'm Greg Hart. I'm a member of the DuPage County Board, and I'm pleased to represent the far southern part of Naperville on that body. But this goes beyond DuPage County. We need to understand that we are all Americans. We all have the same liberty and God-given right to be who we are, to live, and yes, to breathe. We all have the right to breathe. On behalf of the DuPage County Board, I want to say that we are sickened by what we saw in Minneapolis and sickened by the death of George Floyd. He should be alive right now. We all should say that. He should be alive right now. You know, we as Americans have a responsibility to speak out against injustice where we see it. Anyone who saw the horrific video of George Floyd's heartbreaking final moments clearly saw injustice, and we all have to acknowledge that. We must not tolerate a situation in which someone else's liberty is worth less than someone else's. It is a fact that too many Americans, whether it be in DuPage County, City of Chicago, or across the country, too many Americans have their liberties devalued because of the color of their skin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is unacceptable, and it is not the promise of our country. We must use our collective voices, whether you're a government official, a police officer, or an everyday citizen like all of us. We must use our ability to remind government officials, neighbors, friends, and family that we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, no exceptions. No exceptions. I ask you all to think and pray, if you believe, for the Floyd family, and we hope they find peace at this very difficult time. But most importantly, we hope they find justice. and let us keep speaking out until they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Miss Nancy Chin from the Chinese community, Asian community. Thank you for coming, Nancy.
Thank you, Regina, for inviting me. It's an honor. Thank you, Congressman Foster, for being here. A week ago, Naperville City Council passed a resolution condemning racism and discrimination against the people of color in our city. That was a progress. You were all there to support the resolution to make our city a better community for all of us. But today, we are here to mourn the loss of an innocent life, George Floyd, who was brutally and carelessly killed by a policeman. We cannot tolerate this kind of disregard for life and for human rights. People of color, women, immigrants, and others have fought for recognition for years. But in 2020, the murder in Minneapolis could happen in any community in America. This is a time we all have to stand together and let our political and law enforcement leaders know that enough is enough. Whether you're black or brown, Asian or white, well, we have to demand that justice and police brutality against African Americans have to stop. The Asian American community is in solidarity with African American community, and we are in this fight for equality and justice with you. Let's remember what Frederick Douglass once said. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and never will.
That's right.
We must turn our anger into action. Let's unite for George Floyd. Let's unite for all our children and grandchildren here in Naperville and across the country. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nancy, for coming.
Great. I'd like to know is Shoaib Kadri from Islamic Center of Naperville here? Please come up quick. Thank you. Roger Charlo from the Sikh community, please come up.
Well, all of us watched that heart-wrenching video of the last moments of George Floyd. So a few minutes ago, I actually got an email from change.org that had the script of the last few moments of George Floyd. And when I read that, it really impacted me, and I wanted to share this with you. These are his last few words. He said, "It's my face, man. I didn't do nothing serious, man. Please, I can't breathe. Please, man, please somebody. Please, man, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Please. Man, can't breathe, my face. Just get up, I can't breathe. Please, I can't breathe. Can't move. Mama, I can't. My knee, my nuts, I'm through. I'm claustrophobic, my stomach hurts, my neck hurts, everything hurts. Some water or something, please. Please, I can't breathe, officer. Don't kill me. They're gonna kill me, man. Come on, man, I cannot breathe. They're gonna kill me. I can't breathe. Please, sir. Please. I can't breathe, and then his eyes shut and the police stop. Just the video I thought was heart-wrenching, but when I went through this entire script, I was devastated, to say the least. So obviously, this is more than just the police trying to arrest a person. There is a systemic issue that needs to be resolved, and I'm glad that that everybody of different races, different backgrounds are here to support and stand up for justice. I'm glad that we have our elected representative, Congressman Bill Foster. We have city council members, but there's more that needs to be done. There's more that needs to be done in changing the systemic problem that comes with it, so that there is no more George Floyd and there is no more reason for us to gather for something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Shoaib. My name is Roger Chavla. I'm part of the Sikh American community and, more important, of the local community. So what I want to say is we're only as good as the most vulnerable people in our community. And that includes African Americans, that includes, Asians, that includes Sikhs. And we have enough lawmakers here, we have enough lawyers here, we have respected councilmen, respected congressmen. Right now, the law to classify anything as a hate crime, the person basically has got to be in the hospital or dead to be classified as a hate crime. The bar is way too high. I'm calling upon all the elected officials to lower the bar and to have some teeth behind hate crime laws in this country. Unless the bar is lowered, we're going to continue to have these demonstrations. Make it a big monetary fine. We're such a capitalistic country, everybody understands money. A fine is a fine. Somebody doesn't report their foreign taxes, they get fined $10,000. I should know, I'm a CPA. We do that for people. But we're only as strong as the weakest member of our community, and let's protect those members of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. Our next speaker will be returning back to the podium, and that is City Councilman Mr. Mr. Benny White. I think this Lysol is spraying.
Bernie. All right, Bernie. Folks, I am tired of seeing stories of how the lives of African Americans have been traditionally minimized and marginalized. African Americans have been victims of police brutality for a long time. There are still some police departments across the country who have accepted bad leadership, rogue cops, or a combination of both. These missteps have led to the deaths of countless black men and women, victims who could easily be my wife, my sister, my son, my daughter, even me. The list goes on. Although the use of video has brought many of these injustices to light, my black brothers and sisters are still murdered at the hands of the police, and the majority of these killers have not been convicted of a crime. When they have, it has often been for a lesser offense than murder. Many police departments around the country have made great strides in this area, and I would like to personally thank Chief Robert Marshall and the Naperville Police Department for the work they have done, including implementation of de-escalation and implicit bias training. And I know a lot of that goes with Unity Partnership led by Regina over here. It's just a huge piece that's made things better in our community. I'm appreciative of the work that they've done and will continue to partnering with the department to ensure that we are fostering a safe, inclusive environment. The question on the table, where do we go from here? I acknowledge that we have made tremendous progress, but clearly we have a long way to go. We need the members of our white community to increase their understanding of the challenges faced by their black and brown neighbors. We are not okay. We are sick of dying. We are tired of living in fear. Challenge your own biases. Confront your inner circles when inappropriate things are said. Discuss and learn from one another. Read the books. Listen to the podcast. Follow activists on social media. Do the research. Speak out when you see racism. And don't tolerate it in our community.
I'm good.
That's right.
Folks, get involved in organizations that are trying to make a difference in our community. Organizations like Naperville Neighbors United, Unity Partnership, Indivisible Naperville, Naper Pride, and the Naperville Interfaith Leaders Associations are just a few of the many organizations you can go and check out. In fact, come to city council meetings and stay abreast of what's happening and let your voice be heard. To paraphrase Angela Davis, it's not enough to not be racist. You need to be anti-racist. To those of you in our community who have not been part of the uncomfortable conversations, the time is now to become part of the discussion. Thank you very much.
Will all the Unity Partnership members please raise your hand if you're... All right, we got Dr. Boone out there. We have Andrew Tyler here. We have Paul Scott on the left. Lynn Clark, our secretary, our wonderful secretary who does all the typing and take notes for us, and Roger Chawla and Markel Oliver, and we have Marcus Towns here. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Shoaib Kadri. I would like to have a few words, and the next speakers, we're going to give you just 2 minutes if you'll come up. Dr. Mosley, please step up here. Dr. Elaine Mosley, an educator for NAACP. All right, come right up.
So I didn't know I was on program to speak.
Well, you are.
So I have to, as a lifelong teacher and educator, I have to teach you, take advantage of this moment. In the beautiful land of South Africa, in that remarkable country, the Zulus, how many of you are familiar with the Zulus? The Zulus have a word that I want to teach you. And that word is Sawubona. It's S-A-W. S-A-W-U-B as in baby. O-N-A. Sawubona means I see you. I value you. I respect you. You are important to me. This is a common word that is said throughout the Zulu tribal community. And it establishes a level of balance within and across all of humanity. So I'm encouraging you to learn this word. Sawubona. Say that. Sawubona. Oh, I can't hear you. Sawubona. Louder. Sawubona. Sawubona. I see you. I value you. I respect you. You are important to me. And I want to say one thing about the act of inhumanity that we have witnessed. And for most of us who look like me, we have been witnessing it and experiencing it, reading about it, grieving about it for over 400 years in this part of the world that holds itself up to democratic principles and values. Shame on us. Shame on us. And so for me, watching what took place, and it made me physically ill again. I was watching not a person who was dishonoring justice. I was watching a person who chose to give up his humanity. He chose to do that.
Say it, say it.
He gave up his humanity. It was an act, deliberate act of inhumanity. And this has happened. It happens every day in this country, in every state, and in most urban communities in particular. So I am saying to you, all of you, we need to go beyond the rallies. We need to start teaching our children, and we need to start teaching each other what it means to be human. Being human. Treating another human being the way you want to be treated. It goes beyond respect. It goes beyond social justice. It goes beyond laws and policies. Being human should be first on our agenda.
Yes.
We shouldn't have to pass laws. We shouldn't have to penalize someone for saying something racist, mean-spirited to another human being. So we've got work to do. My fellow Americans, we have much work to do. Much work to do.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move it right along here. 2 to 3 minutes. We have, is Tom Fedora here? Tom is, all right, Tom. You speaking in? Tom is a community outreach coordinator. He can put a group together of 1,000 people in less than 10 minutes. Thank you, Tom, for coming.
Good afternoon. I'm standing here before you, a white male, heterosexual, middle-class, well-educated heavily empowered and heavily privileged by society from the day I was born to now. And I am a recovering racist. I know white power and privilege. I benefited from all my life. But I also know that this identity that I was socialized into as a white person is a lie, and that it diminishes me even though I get all sorts of benefits from it. So the first step for white folks out there, all of us, is to understand that we have been socialized into an identity which is not true, which we did not choose, but which we benefit from. And the only way to move away from that is to begin to renounce that and to begin to follow the lead of people of color as we change this country into an anti-racist, multicultural nation. Amen.
Is Mr. Bruce Duffield here from the Mormon Church? Please come up. 2 minutes, please. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Regina. I've been a resident in Naperville for almost 40 years, and I have really enjoyed time I've spent at the Page AME Church, at the Islamic Center of Naperville, and with Tom Cordero and many interfaith activities. I love the unity that exists in Naperville, and I like to believe that the racist graffiti that happened is an exception. It's someone who doesn't understand the beauty of unity and community. I am so grateful for my friends and neighbors of color. I stand with you, I mourn with you. My heart aches for the injustices that you experience. And as Tom Cordero so eloquently expressed, I feel that as a white man, I must be vocal. I must make my voice heard, that the injustices that are persecuted upon the few are stopped, and all of us together can make that happen. I am optimistic. I love Naperville. I love the spirit of unity that exists here. We together can do it. We can make this change. And that is my prayer and my commitment to you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Regina.
Our next speaker is Diane Hewitt, President of Indivisible Women's Group for DuPage County. Come up, Diane. Thank you. This lady is just superb. She got things set up for us in less than 2 or 3 hours. So I thank you, Diane, for that. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. And I represent the indivisible community, not just women, men, all different colors. We come from a variety of different groups, whether it be national, state, or local. We work together, and we really want to make sure that we really lift up those that are working on the issues that we need the most as a country. And whether that be racism issues like Regina and like Michael Childress have been really focusing on for decades. We need those type of community partners with Indivisible, with the groups that I represent. We need to work together as a coalition to make sure that we raise up the issues that need to be raised up, whether that be issues with regards to police violence on communities of color, or whether that be environmental issues, or there's so many different issues that people of color tend to face as a group, and that we tend to face differently, and it's not exactly the same. So one of the things that Indivisible DuPage, Indivisible Illinois, Indivisible National wants to do is work with groups like NAACP and the Unity Partnership and nonpartisan groups to make sure that we can work together to create a coalition, an alliance that will work on the issues that need promoting, and step aside from partisan politics and from racial divisions, from class divisions that tend to divide us all. Because if we don't, we're in a serious problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for all your hard work and your efforts, and we appreciate you too and what you do. Our next speaker is Mr. Andrew Tyler. He comes at a drop of a hat. He's also one of our board members for Unity Partnership, and we want to thank you for being here today, and thank you for taking this event.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. My grandmother's birth certificate said colored. My mother's birth certificate says Negro. My birth certificate says black. My daughter's birth certificate, wave Olivia, it says African American. Identify yourself. Who are you? Are you the Negro that grew up during the Civil Rights Movement? Are you the colored person that grew up during Jim Crow? Are you the slave that grew up in the 1800s? Do they identify you with police brutality and the mindset of mass incarceration as a black person? Are you the African American, the first generation to have all of its rights? My daughter, the first. In 1988, you could still abuse your spouse and get away with it. You could still beat women and get away with it. All the way up until 1988, it was a law. They called it spousal abuse. I want to give you a percentage, a number. I went and researched it. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, they said 1% of the police are bad, the 99% are good. In 2018, there were 686,665 police officers. Today, there are 700,000 police officers in America. 1% is 7,000 officers that are terrorizing black communities, terrorizing Mexican communities. 7,000 officers. Think about it. 1%. They made it sound little. They made it sound small. 1% of America is terrorized by rogue police officers. That is 7,000 officers. We only have 50 states. Consider the mindset. I want to leave you with the birthright. Do you have a right to live? The knee was on his neck, but the 2 knees were in his back, and the 2 knees were on his legs. 6 knees in the man's back. His nose was bleeding. He said, I can't breathe. He said, I want to live. He cried out for his dead mother that died 2 years ago. On the day that he died. Consider the mindset. I want to leave you with the educated number. My brothers out here, our police officer brothers out here, especially my brother from Woodridge, I've worked with them before in Unity Partnership. 1%. Don't let them fool you with that number. 1% is 7,000 officers across America terrorizing America. How do you fix the 1%? That's all I have to say.
I would be remiss if I didn't let you know one of my right-hand guys are here who I found very hard could replace the co-founder of Unity Partnership, which was Ronald Allen, who was also a resident of Naperville, Illinois. He lost his life about 4 or 5 years ago trying to do the right thing on the west side of Chicago. And he left a very deep hole in my heart and a void in my life because he was like a brother of mine, and we were doing some great things out here in Naperville. But we know he's watching down on us today and blessing us with the sun, no rain. So I'm glad to have you here again. And that man who has replaced him is my friend, my brother, Mr. Fred Greenwood. Give him a hand. He's our Vice President of Unity Partnership. Our next speaker will be a young man by the name of Marcus Towns, and I believe Marcus Towns is here. He lived out here in Naperville. Would you please come up for 2 minutes and say a word, please? It's important that we spotlight these young people so that we can have them to guide us in the future.
I don't have gloves, that's already. That's all right.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start off with a really quote for you today. America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions exist in our society which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. In the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that. I'm tired. I'm young, but I'm tired. Thank you to all of those that have come before us and have allowed somebody like me to have the opportunity to even speak on a stage today. But I'm tired. We got to do something. This is not an issue of left or right. This is not Republican versus Democrat anymore. This is bigger than that. This is all of us. The pain that I'm feeling while watching these videos, it's so deep-rooted inside of you. You can feel it in your gut and your stomach. It builds within you. I understand. People are angry. There's so much hate in the world right now. I get it. But we must be better. We got to come together. We got to find a solution. This is a start, but we have so much more to do. Thank you.
We have a wonderful attendance here today. We have, on behalf of African American people who have given great contributions over the years to society out here, we're living up to our expectations as citizens. We have Dr. Boone in the audience. Raise your hand, Dr. Boone, who helped educate our children. We have Kawana Maurice out here. We have who else is here from DuPage? I'm sorry, for DuPage NAACP. Raise your hands. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. All right, so we're going to move right along. Our next speaker is my brother as well. We cover each other on everything we do out here in DuPage County. I don't check or do anything, I don't make a move until I speak with him to see where he is. So that we won't send mixed messages. His name is Michael Childress. He is the president of the DuPage County branch NAACP, and I bring him to speak to you today. Thank you for coming.
Can we make a deal? If I say something that you agree with, let me know. If I say something that you disagree with, let me know. Okay? The first thing I want to say is I want to piggyback on what Mr. Tyler said. I don't care if you are a marathoner, a runner, a weightlifter, or an athlete in the peak of your condition. If you have 1% cancer in your body, you still sick. You still sick. It doesn't matter. So to say, well, we got 1% bad cops, we're sick. I want to start with words that I was taught way back when I was in grade school and trying to get through my citizenship test. So if you bear with me, it said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they're endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights. That is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nobody said you guaranteed happiness, but you have the right to pursue it. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where's Mr. Floyd's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Say that.
There are many things in life that are self-evident. And again, if you agree with me, you let me know. If I'm saying something you don't agree with, let me know. The killing of a child playing with a toy gun in the park is murder. The killing of a child walking home, talking to his girlfriend on the phone, eating Skittles and drinking an Arizona iced tea is murder.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Killing someone in their sleep when they're laying in the bed with their boyfriend, minding their own business, is murder. Killing a man jogging through a neighborhood, minding his own business, is murder. And putting the full weight of a grown man on the neck of another man is murder. Those things are self-evident. We don't have to interpret any of that. They're self-evident. Now, we live in a society where we have to have anti-lynching laws and hate crime laws that can be interpreted 100 different ways. Well, I'll tell you what my interpretation is. It's self-evident. Lynching a man is self-evident. Okay? Hate crimes are self-evident. You don't have to interpret what they meant. We at the NAACP are a very peaceful organization, but we're a firm organization. We believe that we have to stand for what's right. Civil rights. We are planning, starting tomorrow, with many of the speakers, days of action. There'll be more to come to after tomorrow. These plans will not be days of speeches. I'm done with that. Nobody takes them serious anyway. We're putting together action plans that will have direct responses to discriminatory acts, racism, or any other ism. These responses will be peaceful in nature, but be powerful in impact. And they will be taking place at the time of our choosing. If you're willing to roll up your sleeves and work with us, our arms are open. We're not looking for problem staters, we're looking for problem solvers.
Yes, 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 yes.
Now, I know Regina told me I got 2-3 minutes,
I said 5.
but I want to take 8 minutes and 53 seconds. I want 8 minutes and 53 seconds of silence, and I'm going to start my watch, and you can determine what it would be like for 8 minutes and 53 seconds of somebody on your neck, your son's neck, your wife's neck, your child's neck. What is it? What is that time frame like? So we need to experience what that man felt. So I'm going to start my watch, and we're going to be quiet for 8 minutes and 53 seconds, and then you'll know what Mr. Floyd experienced. I'm starting right now.
Had enough? That was 4 minutes. That was 4 minutes. That's how long. Now imagine 8 minutes and 53 seconds of a man my size on your neck, or your child's neck, or your brother's neck. So today, we always have this stereotype that black men have to deal with. Don't come across as the angry black man. Be careful, don't be the angry black. Well, today I'm angry.
Yep.
Today I am angry. The deal is now, what do we do with that anger? How do we channel that anger into the right way? And that's what we're planning. Somebody said vote, that's exactly it. We're going to start that, but we're also going to start to plan and put in place days of action. Again, this is probably one of the last speeches we're going to make on this topic. We're done with that. It's now action, plan, action. If you are a problem solver, thank you. If you're a problem solver, please join us. We don't need problem staters because we all know what the problem is. Thank you.
Thank you, President Childress, for that wonderful introduction and that wonderful speech. His wife, Margaret, is here. Margaret, I saw you. Where are you? Raise your hand. All right, there she is out there on her job. We have one more speaker, and then we're going to close out with a prayer. I want to introduce to you a very hard-working, loyal member of our organization. His name is Paul Scott. He doesn't let a day go by without sitting down with some officer in a district trying to make their wrongs right. I want to introduce to you Mr. Paul Scott. Will you please come up here? 3 minutes. Okay.
Hello, everybody. A lot of what's been said, I will echo. But I want to share with you the thoughts of a person that many of you know, who's one of the greatest civil rights fighters in our world today, Father Flagler. I had a chance to hear Father Flagler speak about a year or so ago. It was at a big church gathering in Arlington Heights where we were visiting in order to try and do something about the disparities in life that exists for African Americans in that community. And Father Pfleger talked about that church gathering by saying this. He said, this gathering is a huddle, like a huddle you would expect to see at a football game. People don't pay to see the huddle. It's what you do when you leave here that matters. The worst thing in the world we could do is leave here and go back to what was. That would be a sin. That would be an awful thing for us to do. The other thing that I want to share with you is this. We were born into this system that we live in now. None of us was responsible for setting it up. But we have a responsibility to try and change it. None of us set up the racist communities around our world. None of us designed the system that basically devalues the lives of African Americans and other marginalized people and other people of color. But we all have a responsibility to do something about it. And everybody can do something. Everybody can do something. Because everybody can do something to try and change this. So tomorrow we're going to begin, as President Chill just mentioned, time of action. And I've had the privilege of working with groups around the area, Arlington Heights, Aurora, Elgin, and other places. And what I've taken away from these groups is this. You have to show up. You have to be consistent. You can't show up and then disappear because you will soon be forgotten. You have to be a reminder that you are here to stay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. I want to acknowledge Stephanie Hughes. Could you come up here? She runs the diversity dinners, and she's been doing it for many, many years. Thank you for coming, Stephanie.
We like to think that diversity dinners is definitely part of the solution, because what we do is relish not only the wonderful foods that we share, but we learn to listen to each other. And what we acknowledge is that we all have the same basic needs. And so often those needs are frustrated. And we have a right to share, express that frustration with each other while we break bread together, get to meet the rest of the family, the kids, the elders, see where we live, become friends. And we have learned that we can commit to meet the basic needs of each and every one of us. And we can each learn to negotiate, not the way the cutthroat corporatists do win-lose, but we can negotiate for win-win-win solutions. It really is possible. Consider doing a diversity dinner. Thanks.
Hi, Duncan. Hi, Brian out there. I see you with Liz. All right. Do we have all the indivisible women? Can you stand? Are you out there so we can give you acknowledgement? Can you stand and raise your hand? All right. Oh, they're the indivisible group women. And they are very dedicated and loyal to service in the community. Is O.C. Davenport here out of Naperville? All right, O.C. Miss Davenport, you please step up here and give us a few words for a couple of minutes. And is Melody Coleman here from Naperville? No? Her husband is here. Come right up. These are long-term residents of Naperville who paved the way for me to be out here.
Good evening. Naperville is a town I came to in 1978 after having lived in Mississippi. for the rest of my whole life. But going to school in Louisiana, it was the place you wanted to come, because it was the place that you wanted your children to go to school. I was very disappointed when I realized the subtle racism was what I was dealing with. Overt, you know what it is, and you can face it and say, I'm going to fight this today. But when it's subtle, you try to figure out what's wrong with me. And a young man said it best at a meeting a few weeks ago. He said, it's not me, it is time. This has been going on too long. But I would like to say, I have had many great experiences. I have had challenging experiences. But through it all, we will come together. And it's about love. It's about love. It's about wanting peace. It's about wanting everybody to have joy. Thank you very much.
You know, I had nothing planned to say because I didn't know that Melody's husband would be called up here. Just a few words. You know, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I work today on the west side of Chicago, trying to make a difference in a lot of people's lives and really trying to make some big things happen economically on the west side, which has been impacted to some degree by the pandemic, but that's not going to stop us. In the meantime, you know, I grew up quite a while back when TV shows like The Jetsons were coming on and they projected the future and what life would be like in the 21st century and so forth and how great things would be. And then I take a look at the way things are now and I ask myself, are we even living in a civil society with all the stuff that we're dealing with? I mean, and it was mentioned earlier, it's not only what the police are doing, but it's like whole groups of people. If a group of black people have gone up to the State House in Michigan, armed with these AK-47s and so forth, boy, imagine what the reaction would have been then. You know, I'm not trying to incite anybody, but I'm just saying. So there's a whole mindset that one has to conclude that we're not quite civil, not everybody's civil, and we've got to all keep our heads on a swivel to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe and happy. I've been doing a lot with COVID, but it's this other stuff that's really, really ridiculous, and it's happening, and it's real, and I get reminded of it all the time. It's not a perfect world. These types of things put things in perspective. So, again, I wasn't planning. You gave me 2 minutes. I hope it's probably about right.
That's it.
I just want to say thank you for listening, but we've got action to take. I'm looking forward to the NAACP's action plan, and I'm sure my wife, who's Melody, will be contributing to that. So, thank you.
Reverend Ross, will you please come up to close us out with a prayer? We're looking for volunteers for Unity Partnership. We have lots of fun. We sit down, we do lots of things with children in the community, and we also sit at the table every month with the chiefs of police to try to keep our community safe for our people of color. This is our brochure. Please come up and get one if you need it after the event closes out. Get in touch with NAACP to join us on a Zoom call tomorrow at 4:00 p.m. We will send you the link. We need your help We need white people to come and stand with us as you have done so today so eloquently. I thank you for being concerned about us. But you cannot help us until we come out and help ourselves. And I want us to be present in the school systems, present when the courthouses are open and we see more African American, Hispanic, and Latino people and Muslims in the courtrooms, black men incarcerated all over the country. We're sick and tired of it, and we want to do something about it, and we will do something about it. So thank you for being here today. I'm going to have Reverend Ross to close us out in prayer. God bless you. God keep you safe. And we're going to pray our way out of this COVID-19 so that we can hug one another again and show each other love. Thank you so very much. I love you all.
So before I close in prayer, I want to leave an image with you. I was born and raised in very rural Mississippi. And at the end of every summer, the men in the neighborhood would get together and they would kill hogs. They would get together and they will pin the hog down. And they will choke the hog until blood starts running from his eyes. And they will hold the hog down even when he's kicking and moving and screaming and yelling until the hog finally be still. When I saw that picture or that video or that image on TV where those officers were holding George Floyd down, one with the knee on the neck and the other two were helping, I said, my God, he's a human being, he's not a hog. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. penned these words from the Birmingham, Alabama jail. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
That's right. Yeah.
So what did he mean when he said that? King meant that we cannot think of ourselves as separate from all the other people in the world. What we do affects others. And what others do will eventually affect us. Let us bow for a word of prayer. Oh, gracious and eternal God, the God who loves us all, we come right now to ask that you will help us in this troubled time. We ask that you would bless the Floyd family and be with them. We ask that you would allow justice to be served. And we ask that you will teach us that we are each other. We are our brother's keeper. And help us not to stand and be silent, but move with the plan. And we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. We thank you for everyone that's under the sound of my voice. Help us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. As we leave in humming, we'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand